So welcome everyone. I just say a few words before I pass on the microphone to Madara and Ako. I'm Árpád Bárnai from Academy of Experience, a Hungarian NGO. We are here with Eti Kovács, my colleague, technical support if needed. We will try our best, and I just say a few words about why we have these webinars. Our experience is that there are sometimes amazing experts and professionals on the field of youth work and training who do great job, who know a lot of stuff that would be useful for others, even not just for youth workers, but for parents and all other types of professionals who are in touch with youth. And sometimes I have the feeling that we talk in this conference or in this training and people should listen to this. They have such amazing treasure chest. And so we thought, why not use internet for this purpose? And let's invite these people to share what they feel is possible to be shared. And who we are, Academy of Experience is an NGO, and we work in youth work field and training youth workers. And we are basically using experiential learning with youth and especially disadvantaged youth. And what we've seen in the past years, maybe decade, that there's a strong need to be able to interact with and support youth who have special needs, who are more sensitive maybe, who handle stress differently, and also who unfortunately experience adverse childhood experiences, including violence. This is why we are here today. And to put it simply, it can be that I just sign up to volunteer or work for an organization and we just do camps or just fun activities. And at the same time, I'm immediately in the midst of a conversation about violence or witness violence. And it's very vulnerable situation to be in. And also you can feel that your hands are empty. You don't know what to do. And also it's a big question, what can I do that helps and doesn't do any harm? I think it's a big question for us as an organization. So that's what we're learning. And also how to do something as a non-psychologist or non-therapy providing professional. So this is our big quest for these years. And that's why I'm so happy that we have you here, Madara and Ako, and we didn't agree on okay, how it will go depending on how many we are. But without saying more, I will just pass the word to you, if it's okay. Good like this? Good start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It's good, yeah. We can start, for sure. Madara, will you put the presentation on?
Yes, well, the presentation. So before the presentation, sharing the screen, and having a bit of a feeling going back in the time of pandemics, but still, it's a nice way again to see each other and to be connected and over the time zones, over countries, and yeah, thanks for having us here tonight. And indeed, we are going to share our expertise and our experience working with gender-based violence topics as providers of support of the victims. But also for a long time, we have been working on prevention work. And this will be our main goal for tonight, to share what we have learned and what each one of us being in contact with adolescents, what we can do. Am I the only one having an echo or something?
I hear something as well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear some noise from someone else, maybe Anna Maria.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, if you can mute yourself, I'm not sure if you hear us. Well, we don't have a conversation. Her. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Madara, can you put the full screen on, please?
What do you say?
Can you put the full screen, the presentation on full screen?
Oh, it's not? Okay, sorry.
No, it's not, but that's okay. My name is Ako. Árpád has mentioned both of our names, but my name is Ako Kārlis Cekulis. I represent Marta today, and I work as youth program coordinator. And this is my colleague, Madara. Madara, what do you do?
I lead youth programs at Marta.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, so before sharing the screen, actually, we can ask people some questions, right?
Yeah, let's do that. So before we talk, we want to understand your knowledge in this topic. So please vote. Can all of you see the questions, and can all of you vote? So let's check them together. The first question: how do I assess my knowledge of the topic of violence in the context of young people? And it really varies. Most of you said that you kind of understand. You rate yourself on 3 or 4, but some of you don't know anything. So it really varies in this question. Let's check the next one. I have experienced violence professionally or privately. All of you said yes. Okay, that's really interesting. And the next one is I know how to help and support young people who is in an unhealthy relationship. Again, it really varies. 2 of you said yes, and 4 of you said no. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your answers. It really shows that we have different kind of expertises here today, and I think that we will look at these topics and learn more about these things today. Okay, I am still seeing where do you stand for? Okay. So about the organization Centre Smart, how many of you know this organization? Yeah, our colleagues do. That's nice. So Centre Marta is one of the first women's rights organizations in Latvia. This year it will celebrate 23-year anniversary, and we have the main office is in Riga, but we have our offices in Liepāja and Rēzekne as well. Those are cities in Latvia. But what do we do in Marta? There are a lot of things that we do, but the first question is why we do it. There are a lot of things that we have understood are problems in society, but we looked at Latvian society. But I really think that those are problems that really are problems in many countries all around the world, and those are the things that we cannot see sometimes, and those are lack of skills and knowledge, traditional gender roles, norms and stereotypes, addiction, sexism, discrimination, poverty, trauma, homophobia, unhealthy masculinity, lack of resources, and high tolerance of violence in society. And what are we doing to prevent these things and to end these things in society? Is one of the biggest things that we are doing is services for the victims of domestic violence and human trafficking. Then there's gender equality awareness raising, development cooperation, then policy work, forum stand up, that's meant for healthy masculinity and talking about it. And then there's youth programs, and that's me and Madara. Our work, we work in prevention with youth, a lot of policy work, a lot of work with teachers, students, social workers, and etc. Yeah. And the biggest part about youth okay, Madara, can you put the next slide on? Yeah, about Marta again, the biggest thing that we are doing, as I said, is social rehabilitation. That's our the main thing, and the biggest part that we are doing. Every year we are helping around 400 persons. 90% of them are women, and yeah. So what we do with these women mostly that come for help in Marta, we are giving them help in social rehabilitation, psychologist help, lawyers sometimes help in their social work, and different kind of other specialists as well. Yeah, and then how we have seen that usually the person that harms the victim is someone who knows victim before. It could be a person in their family, in their work, or a friend of theirs. But about our program, youth program, started in 2010. Madara was the one who started it, actually. And what we are doing there, we have classes, trainings, and seminars for both young people and specialists who work with them. Youth workers, educators, and other specialists. And there are many topics that we are looking into. Some of them are violence and prevention. That's one of the topics we will talk about today. And bystander effect. Then there's gender equality and stereotypes about it, their effects on our relationship with others and with ourselves as well. Creation of healthy relationship, recognition of red flags. We will look into that as well. We will have some discussion about it. Management of emotions and their relation to stereotypes and social norms. And then mobbing and prevention of it. Risks of human trafficking and prevention, and sexuality and consent. Yep. And our biggest thing how we work with these topics is our youth group methodology. Madara with our colleagues from different countries made this youth group methodology for many years, and I have it here. It's a big book, and in this methodology, you can see the cycle of 17 non-formal education workshops. Each workshop is dedicated to different topic. There are a lot of topics like addiction, healthy relationship, how to see violence. We talk about gender, about emotions, many things. And where you can see these groups, we have them in schools, youth centers, community places, etc., both in Latvia and around Europe as well. In Latvia, we have there have been around 200 professionals who have gone through our training course about youth group methodology. There are still some youth groups in Latvia as well. Both me and Madara, we have a group of our own as well. But there are groups in Romania, Bulgaria, Spain. There have been some groups in Spain as well. So yeah, we are spreading worldwide. These groups are closed groups, how you understand, led by trained specialists. So you can lead these groups only if you have went to Madara's and mine a training course about this methodology. And competencies needed to develop and maintain healthy relationship. That's something that we that's our goal with this methodology. Yeah. If you have more questions about methodology, we will answer them at the end. We are really eager to spread it around the world because we really believe in this tool, and we have a lot of Mother, what's the word? I don't remember in Latvian as well. Not research, but
experience.
Not experience. Ka mēs esam pārbaudījuši viņu.
Okay, so we did the research. Yes, we did.
Okay, we did research.
So this methodology is data proven in a way that we measured what's the impact of it. We did focus groups with young people. So how this methodology changes and shifts behaviors and understanding of gender-based violence and interpersonal violence as such, and so on. So it's the research was the word. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's proven. Yeah. Thank you, Madara. Can we go further?
Yes, we can. And for that, I'm going to switch the screens. Yeah, and you tell me if that works.
So at this part, we want to work with you. This will be activity that we'll ask you to interact with us and to switch on your microphones. And what I will ask you to do, Mother will write things down. But I will ask you to name every association that comes into your mind when you hear word woman. There aren't any wrong answers. Just let's start and see what will happen. And Mother will write all of the answers. So be slow, so Mother can write everything down. Lelde, I see your hand.
Either you switch on your microphone and you say your thoughts, or you can also put that in the chat, which makes me easier to copy paste it in this Jamboard.
Yep. But Lelde, you had your head up. Strong, nice. Pretty, power, intelligent, nice. Care, safe, emotionally intelligent, mother, family, autonomous, gentle. Oh, Mother, you're really fast. I would put fast now. Abused, oppressed, feminist, everywhere. Nice. Creative, talkative. Okay. Nice. Let's look at all of these words together. How do you think do these words all together, do they represent women? How do you think? Some of them. Okay, Lelde, thank you. Some of them. Yeah, maybe. And let's do this again, but with another word. And the other word that we will look will be man. Yeah, Lelde, I see your comment, and to extent, of course, yeah, I agree with you. But let's do this same thing about word man. So what are your associations with the word man? Father, strength, seen and heard, protection, allowed, owner, annoying, distant, dangerous, warm, protective, dominant and loving, free, timid, fixes things. Okay, interesting. Okay, I think that's it. On objective as well. Okay, let's look at the words that we wrote for men. And what do you think, do these words to get all together, do they represent men in general? Okay, I saw your I think. Yeah, I think that's as same as you told about women in some kind of way. Not all of them. Maybe some of the words work for some of the men or some of the women. Okay, and how do you think if we would flip them around? If we, yeah, what Mother is doing, we put man here, woman here. Does this work? Are there some words that you could discuss that doesn't work for some of the genders?
The father and the mother should be switched around.
Okay. Father and mother. Okay. Other, or those are the only ones who you don't agree? Okay. And how do you think this little exercise, what did it represent? What was it about? I'm asking a lot of questions, but I don't hear a lot of answers. But I can understand nobody wants to talk in Zoom. But maybe you can write in the chat if you have some answers to my last question. We use this exercise a lot with teenagers, and actually all of them really love it, because a lot of them are really in shock because they think that there are some things that are really like only for men or only for women, or there are some things that really identify men or women. And when we did this exercise and we switch men and women in places, they understand, oh, whoa, that all of these things can be representative of men and women as well. So yeah, I really like this exercise, and that's one of the exercises that we have in our methodology that we use, talking about gender norms and stereotypes about men and women. Yeah, nice. Let's go further, Madara.
Yes. So you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, but excuse me, I see some of somebody wrote some answers. I will read them out. Lelda wrote, no group is homogeneous, and there is more variety among men and among women than between average men and women. And association are situational. Great activity. Thank you, Lelda. And Annie wrote, well, I was thinking of current characteristics, not what I would find ideal according to my value measures. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's understandable. Thank you.
And you know, a bit complementing what Ako already did together with you is how you could expand further this activity with the teenagers is that you can definitely stick to the words by asking, okay, what do you mean with confused, or what do you mean with gentle? How does that look like for you? How does that, you know, feels like in your reality? Or when you say a leader, you know, only man could be a leader of what, you know? And I think this is all about also the language which is mostly used about when we are talking about women or when we're talking about men, and why are there these differences, and how does these words also, how do they define how we see ourselves and how we perceive others? So you could, from this one, you could go through to, you know, a dozen of different directions. You could go through talking about relationships, or you can go towards the direction of talking about responsibilities and what roles are we taking in our families, for instance. You know, do you help your mom with, I don't know, cleaning up after dinner, or, you know, how does these roles are divided in your family, and how do you feel about that? How does that feel for you personally? How do you feel that affects your siblings, for instance, your sisters or brothers? Or you could go towards, you know, how women or men are perceived and what kind of challenges they're facing in labor market. And so it's like, that's why I also love this activity. And as you can see, it works in an online setting as well. But in real life, we would, you know, put post-it papers. We could play around with them as we did here. But, you know, physically, I don't need to tell you that it's more interactive and more engaging. But anyway, thank you for this. And going to a bit of a background, why Center Marta exists, and why we are, you know, where we are and doing what we're doing, and why prevention work and specifically working with young people, why it's important, and that you don't need to be, you know, working at Marta to do a prevention work. You know, you can be working in Elmen Academy and still doing prevention work. So statistics are terrifying, and they are not changing that much over time, unfortunately. Is that 1 in every 3 women and 1 in every 5 men has experienced or will be experiencing intimate partner violence in their lifespan. So, and the age range usually is starting from 15, but as you know, and as you see, it starts way more younger. And when we're talking about gender-based violence, and this is our main purpose, and intimate partner violence, including domestic violence, which is also gender-based violence, is we see it as a consequence, and meanwhile a cause of gender inequality. And it's like a vicious circle, because, you know, if you're not working with ending the violence between men and women, or ending domestic violence, it brings us to, you know, to another point of how, you know, the labor market is distributed, and how we are educating our kids in the aspects of gender roles and traditional stereotypes. And gender-based violence basically means about that, you know, violence is happening and is justified in a way because of someone's gender. You know, I dare to hit you because you're a woman because you don't fit in a certain roles or expectations, or vice versa. You're a man and you're not fitting in specific roles or expectations of the society. And the previous statistics what I showed is that these 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men, the abusers in both cases mostly are men. So women are experiencing violence from men's side, and men are experiencing partnership violence or domestic violence or any other sort of violence also from men's side. So that again shows us the importance of education and importance of providing resources to transform these stereotypes, which are rooted also in our conscious and unconscious biases and discrimination, obviously. And what we all can do is to increase gender equality in every aspect of our lives. So not only talking about how we can, pay the same amount of money to people doing the same work or having the same expertise, but also how we are distinguishing or distributing the work in a household, or how we are interacting with young people in a camp, for instance. That you can pay attention what kind of tasks you are asking to do for boys or for girls, and are you focusing on young people's strengths and competences and things they want to develop or grow, or you are labeling them in a way that you're a boy and expect you to behave in certain way, or the same about girls. And as you can hear, this is talking my talk or my speech or this problematics, we are looking at it through very binary lens, but all the time keep in mind that gender is a spectrum, and we are used to think about gender from man and woman's side, but you all know and have seen how different we all can be on the spectrum of gender. Yeah, just bear this in mind while listening to me as well. So this is not only about those who can, who are identifying themselves as a man or a woman. So when we are talking about prevention work, and why we are also inviting other people to join us who are not specifically working on gender-based violence or gender equality issues, but anyone, sports organizations and who else is interested in, is that it's in general, it's about stopping something from happening, or from happening again, or from arising. And it all is about methods and activities that we choose to organize and do that meaningfully to promote the desired outcomes. So prevention is focusing on what we want to see in future, what we want to see in the next 5 minutes, or what kind of a change we want to see in behavior or in attitudes or in knowledge, instead of focusing on what we have now and how does how all of it is not working. We know that it's not working. It really is not a best way to create relationships, but what we want to see there. Our prevention work needs to be focused on the root causes of it. So we obviously cannot, move forward without really getting feedback and analyzing what is not working at the moment and why it's not working. When we in Marta Center talk about prevention, we mostly are staying in this primary prevention, which is everything what we can do to protect young people or to raise their competences, to create and help and maintain healthy relationships. Obviously, secondary prevention or early intervention is something which is also very, very present. And as you all also voted in the Zoom, that all of you have experienced or have seen violence in your personal, professional life. So this is the reality. So it's already there. So it's not that, I can protect my 2-year-old kid, that he's not ever have seen violence in his life for this amount of time that he is on this planet. But, it soon will change when he will start to enter the kindergarten, for instance. So it's all there. And what we don't do in our organization is that we do not specifically work in supporting survivors, like meaning young people. So we obviously, if someone reveals that they have experienced violence in their personal lives, we still are doing our best what we can to provide support. And meanwhile, we can do a lot of different small activities in order to help those young people kind of stopping from getting back in those relationships. For instance, let's say they had an abusive boyfriend or girlfriend, and now they're saying that to you, so or sharing this information with you. So you actually have a lot of tools in your hands, starting with that this young person trusts you with this story, right? So this is already a huge step. So they trust that you will, listen to them, and that you will, and you don't need to be, psychologist to specifically provide a therapy for that person. If you are, great, use those tools, obviously. But if you're, just, I don't know, a camp leader or a sports trainer or who else, you can always help them to see what are the exits of this situation. And we will get back to that a bit later. So sometimes people are confused with this word and questioning, like, what I am doing now with my youth activities, is it prevention or not? Like, am I doing something wrong? Can I do any harm with what I'm doing? So some of the things what you might consider when reflecting on your own work about prevention is that it's not about saving someone. So obviously you're there for support, but prevention as such is not about building up the whole system of support. It's rehabilitation, right? Or it's crisis management, but that's not prevention. It's also not abstinence. So especially when we talk about substance abuse and addictions, obviously, or let's say sexual reproductive health and STDs and HIV and so on. So, okay, yes, not engaging into sexual intercourse is a possibility, right? But it's not a prevention. So prevention is something more. It's again not mixing up with healing and rehabilitation and medical health care provision and so on. Prevention is also not only about doing good things. I mean, if you engage into prevention work, you are doing great things already, but it's not its main purpose. So it's not about, making your karma look better or earning some better points in your life. It's about what you, I would say prevention work is a long-term commitment, what you're making with something, what you do. Meanwhile, it's not charity. It's not that you give goods, that I give you 10 computers and I therefore will prevent illiteracy. That's not how it works. I mean, computer is needed to learn certain things, but that's only one piece of prevention as such. It's also not about fixing emotional shortcomings. And this is some of the challenges. What we also see in Latvia is that sometimes we're getting these emails or calls from schools, and they're saying, like, look, we had this incident in the school, someone hit someone, or kids have been suffering from bullying in the, 6th grade, and can you come and, provide a lecture? And yes, we can do that, but we are really against this way of, because one piece of something will not solve the whole problem. And prevention is about looking at the things which are not working in a broader spectrum. So this one timer of something is really like a drop in the ocean. Yes, it can become as something as you go there, and it's like snowball effect. They see that, hey, this really works, the kids really love these kind of workshops, and they want you to provide them more in this particular school. Great. So then you can build up on that, but one timer is not a prevention work, right? So come and heal our kids who are using substances. So it's I don't need to tell you that it's not really working that way. So what it is about, it's about developing competences, it's about building on know-hows, it's about how we can reflect on what we are feeling, why we are feeling certain things. So it's about emotional literacy, and it's always about interactivity. It's basically prevention work is very rarely about giving someone a lecture on how they should live their life, right? So it's about how when we are asking them questions, when we are providing our opinions as well, without pushing it too hard, but I mean maybe encouraging or questioning their choices, but being there. It's always about critical thinking, and also it's about how we perceive ourselves, and it's also about what we can do to help others. And this is, I think, also what GameOn Academia is doing, and we are slowly learning from you and also trying to do similar things in a way, how we can engage those young people who have gone through prevention activities, in a longer time, how we can engage them to become ambassadors of healthy relationships, how we can support them in becoming peer-to-peer educators, because they have eaten that broccoli. They know how, that they believe in this thing, and they are really for it. So we don't need to sell it to them anymore, and they can be the ones who can sell it to others. So this is it about prevention work. I hope that you have seen some bits of it in your work. I believe it is there. And I think what I see also in Latvian context of youth workers is that we should, put ourselves a bit higher. We should believe in ourselves a bit more. And people are doing amazing things out there, and without really, acknowledging that, yes, this is a cool stuff what we are doing. So I'm saying this to you all, that I believe that you, if you are already here in this webinar on a very late evening after a long working day, it means that you care. And this is the very beginning of prevention work, I think, of youth work as such. But to test it out a bit, and also to see how we are talking with young people about healthy relationships, we are going to invite you for the next activity. And I believe that we could maybe do 2 breakout rooms. How do you feel about that?
Yep, I will break the group.
But wait, I will tell what's going to happen next, okay?
Yeah.
So you are going to enter the Jamboard. I'm going to post the link in the chat box, or maybe Akko, you could post the link if you have it.
Yep.
So you will be in the breakout rooms. So breakout room number 1, go to this slide with the number 1s, right? And the breakout room number 2 is just clicking up there and moving to the next slide. So each of your groups are having their own big flip chart papers, virtual ones, let's say. And here the task is that you read through the situation and you agree where do you put it. The situation seems that it's a part of a healthy relationship or it's part of an unhealthy relationship. And here in the Jamboard, you can easily just move around the little post-its. If there are things which you do not agree or you are like not sure, you can leave them in the middle as well. Yeah. So the link is in the chat.
Yeah.
And now Akko is breaking us into 2 rooms. So for this, we have 10 minutes.
So we had 2 groups, right? And this exercise, we use it to start the conversation about healthy and unhealthy relationship. After we will look at some signs how you can understand what is healthy and what is unhealthy relationship. But how was the process for you? Were there any sentences that you had like discussions about that you weren't sure? Are they healthy or unhealthy? Okay, no answers, but okay.
Oh, I raised
Yeah,
my hand.
yeah.
I thought maybe everybody won, because I think we had a very interesting discussion regarding one of the sentences about commenting on other women, because obviously it really depends on how you read, like on how you interpret it. Because for example, I try to go with like also a positive interpretation, where if the couple amongst themselves have if it's not done in a way to diminish anyone's confidence, or to like improper and unpleasant way, and it's just a way of comfortable with your partner to admit that you also can feel attracted to other people outside of the relationship and talk about it rather than just suppressing it, then that could be not an unhealthy thing. But then again, I suppose that's probably not what was meant with it. But yeah, we had a very lovely discussion regarding like how differently that could go, because it really depends on what you've agreed with your partner and what are the boundaries that you have with each other, and the way that you make those comments, right? Are they respectful, or just some unpleasant catcalling?
That's a great thing that you said, and how you can see a lot of our tools are made to start the conversation about Mother, where's my English today? Piekrišana, consent.
It's here.
Yeah,
here.
about consent and different topics as well. And as you can see, when we were making these tools and this methodology, we were thinking about situations that could that teenagers could understand. And you can see that all of these statements are about lives of teenagers, and so they can interpret these statements and think about their relationship as well. And one of the main things when we are talking about healthy and unhealthy relationship, what we tell to teenagers is that we are not talking only about romantic or sexual relationship. We are talking about any kind of relationship, because when we say this, then teenagers start to understand that, hey, maybe my relationship with my teacher or my mother or my brother can be unhealthy as well, not only with my sexual or romantic partner. Yeah, Lilde? Oh, you're clapping. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Madara, can we look at the next slide? Let's dive into. Yeah, this is work of the other group, right? Are there any okay, but I think that this is work of the second group that Lelde was talking about, right?
Oh,
yeah. But maybe we can go back to presentation about healthy and unhealthy relationship.
But nothing maybe from the other group? Maybe. Thoughts?
Yep.
Oh, it was for you? Easy, hard to agree on?
Group number 1.
I think it was easy for us. I mean, it was very obvious which side we decide. I think this clause was like controversial, because I thought women can use wearing like tool in this kind of situation, but I think if a man like takes this like obvious just of the clothes, then it's an unhealthy thing. And any thought about had a thought about this grabbing arm, that it depends on the intention, but I think we were very naive in this.
For sure, a lot of these statements are with the open ending, and I think that's great. You can start discussion with teenagers, for example, is it okay to grab somebody without consent? And then you can start to discuss each of these topics actually with teenagers, and to talk about maybe their experience. Maybe they have something similar, yeah. this is great tool to look at their experience as well. But Mother, let's look at unhealthy relationship.
Yes,
signs.
in a second we have
sorry,
Annie has raised a hand.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, just a very short comment is that it's I love how it ends on kind of an open note, as Ako you said, because I think it gives room for talking about how things can be relative and at the same time not relative at all. So what are the so-called, if you want to take it, we do this exercise with the traffic lights so that students can actually put it into like what are the red, like no-go zone for sure. What are the things that are, up for discussion and might be on the red light side, and what are the green, right? Like definitely not debatable that it's okay side. So I like how it gives room for talking about relative things as well as things that are not up for discussion and very clear whether it's okay or not.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you for your comment. And one more thing, okay, open-ended, that's one thing, but also try to, and this is not the best example in my opinion of that, is that how we can make the examples or this activity more like inclusive or more like general in a way that it's not only, she, he. In English language we can use they, which is great, but Latvian language, for instance, is very limiting in this sense. So how we can, play around with the language in a way that everyone can relate. So it's not only about relationship between men and women. It can be about relationship between two women and two men, and not only homosexual, heterosexual, and so all of these things. And here language plays a huge role. So this is just a piece of thought from my side as well.
Thank you, Mother. Actually, one thing that I wanted to tell about these tools, you can put the presentation on. One thing that I wanted to tell about the tools, of course, when we are doing these tools with teenagers, we start with one tool goes, we go through one tool for an hour. Now we are rushing through with you as professionals, but when we are working with the youth, we start with discussion, then we do the tool, then we have big reflection, and that's the main. Actually, I would say that the discussion is the main part of every tool. So today we are just showing you some of the methods, but in our daily work we would do it much longer. Yeah, but about the 10 signs of healthy relationship, we will look at unhealthy relationship as well. But actually, when we use this tool, we look at these signs after it with the teenagers, and we check if all of those sentences that they put in healthy relationship box, do all of them really connect with these 10 signs. And let's go through all of these 10. The first one is comfortable peace. The relationship moves at speed that feels enjoyable for each person. Trust, confidence that your partner won't do anything to hurt you or ruin the relationship. Honesty, you can be truthful and candid without fearing how the other person will respond. Independence, you have space to be yourself outside of the relationship. Respect, you value one another's beliefs and opinions and love one another for who you are as a person. Equality, the relationship that feels balanced and everyone puts the same effort into the success of the relationship. Kindness, you are caring and empathic to one another and provide comfort and support. Taking responsibility, owning your own actions and words. Healthy conflict, openly and respectfully discussing issues and confronting disagreements, non-judgmentally. And fun, you enjoy spending time together and bring out the best in each other. Yeah, again, all of these signs can work not only in romantic relationship, it works in every kind of relationship as well. But let's check unhealthy relationship, 10 signs of unhealthy relationship as well. So the first one is intensity, expressing very extreme feelings and over-the-top behavior that feels overwhelming. Possessiveness, being jealous to a point where one tries to control who other person spends time with and what they do. Manipulation, trying to control another person's decisions, actions, or emotions. Isolation, keeping others away from your friends, from their friends, family, or other people. Sabotage, purposely ruining reputation, achievements, or success. Belittling, doing and saying things to make one feel bad about themselves. Guilting, making others feel responsible for their actions or making them feel like it's their job to keep another person happy. Volatility, having a really strong, unpredictable reaction makes one feel scared, confused, or intimidated. Deflecting responsibility, repeatedly making excuses for one's unhealthy behavior. And betrayal, being disloyal or acting in intentionally dishonest way. When I do this exercise with teenagers, I give example for all of these signs, or give like example from the sentence that we had in the previous exercise, so they have reference. But yeah, actually, teenagers are really interested in these unhealthy relationship signs because they can check. I always see that their minds are spinning and they are checking all of their relationships, their relationship that they have in their personal life, if there are some unhealthy relationship signs in their personal relationship. So it's really interesting to talk about these things, and they have questions about it. So it's important to understand these things for us as professionals as well.
Before we move on, I wanted to ask you, from these 10, which ones you feel and think might be the ones which could be mistaken for a sign of healthy relationship? Are there any? Yeah, which could have been on a border, or like, firstly, could be perceived as, you know, they love me so much, or they're so into me, or I'm so into them. What did you think? Yeah, please. Any.
Right. I think isolation to some extent, especially in the beginning of relationships, especially with people who are trying out their first relationships, or in the very beginning of being in this setting, especially romantic relationships. I understand that it's not only that, but in terms of like really being into someone and loving spending time with the other person, and the word revolves around that person, I think that can easily lead to kind of like a voluntary isolation, but then getting used to that it's only that person telling me what's the truth, what's happening in the world, what do I think of other people. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a great point. Exactly. Thank you for that. And, you know, yeah, exactly. And in a moment when a young person, you know, comes to you and says like, oh, you know, they want to be with me all the time and we're spending so much time together, and if they stop attending things or being part of the things they were before this relationship, and when you know, question them, it's like, hey, I haven't seen you, you know, in the past 3 weeks, and you usually were part of this and that activity, you know, what has changed? And they say like, oh, I have this new boyfriend or this new girlfriend. And then that's, you know, the point when you are starting to keep an eye on them, if you can, you know, because it can also be a sign that the other person is like, you know, taking a lot of space. And as you read before in the 10 signs of healthy relationship, that having your own life is still okay. And then it can be manageable to be in a relationship and still have your own hobbies, your own friends, your own family events where the other person doesn't need to be part of it. I mean, if that's, you know, consensual, that's obviously okay, but you know what I mean. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And then we have some things in a chat as well, right? So intensity and possessiveness could be taken as a sign of passion, definitely. Is that, you know, wanting to also hold hands all the time, or be side by side all the time, or sit together in every classwork, like all the time, be together. And that's a lot. Even in the most, you know, loving relationship, you still need to have your own space, right? And fall for love bombing in various relationships. Exactly. Especially if you're coming maybe from a family where showing affection and showing care and love is something which is, you know, not present, or is done in very unhealthy way. Then in the moment when you start your first relationship as an adolescent, and there is someone who is like wants to be with you so badly, then it's very complimenting in the beginning, right? So suddenly someone is so much interested in me, and I have been, you know, neglected maybe my whole life. And then there is this guy or girl, or someone who is there. Yeah, Árpád.
Yeah, I just thought of also volatility can be mistaken as I'm just really expressing myself. I don't hold anything back, so I'm just freely expressing myself. And this is often mistaken or I don't know, misused, and it's actually not freely just expressing, but saying things that hurt. Or being unpredictable. And sometimes I do things that hurt some people, not everyone. So I'm actually taking care of who I say what. But to my loved ones, I can be kind of unpredictable or harmful, and it can be masked as this is just honesty, or I'm just a passionate person who expresses himself.
Yeah, thanks for this point. And I also was thinking about deflecting responsibility in a way that I find the justifications of my bad behavior because of, you know, I'm behaving in a certain way in this relationship because my ex used to cheat on me, you know, so now I'm like super controlling and freaking out every time you're not picking the phone, right? So I'm using addictions in my family as an excuse of my, you know, partying a lot, or, you know, heavily drinking or whatsoever. So there's always someone or something in the past, what happened with me, that I'm acting in a certain way. Of course it affects our, you know, our past, of course it affects our way of being, but it's not, it shouldn't be as an excuse to repeatedly make the same, you know, mistakes or act in the same way and just, you know, excusing myself with a bad experience in the past. And this is something that, you know, other person can feel sorry for, and they are forgiving all the time, and they're understanding and they're patient and so on, and then they're taking maybe the blame on themselves that, you know, the other person cannot save the one who has been going through this turbulent times in the past. And this is, I would say that this is very gender thing, that women tend to, you know, fall into the shoes of a savior or a healer for a man who has been having some, you know, extreme experiences in the past, for instance. All right, we move on. And what do you think are the causes of interpersonal violence? This is a bit of repeating, but maybe some 3-4 ideas in the chat, or switching on your mic would be great. What are the causes of interpersonal violence? So we're not talking about military conflicts or you know, terror attacks or things like this, but interpersonal violence. Expectations, unhealthy ones, not being able to regulate and express emotions in a healthy way. Yes. Okay. And one more, bad models. Yes, so I have experienced what I have experienced, and I do not know that it can be any different. And then I'm, you know, basically portraying in my relationships what I have seen in relationships with my parents, and consciously or unconsciously, but it's all there, unfortunately, or in some cases, fortunately. But when we talk about interpersonal types of violence, we usually talk about 4 of these, and I would like to go through all of them together with you. So physical, and then again, if you can, please write in the chat, what are the first things which comes to your mind when we talk about physical violence? How does that look like? Feels like? This is I believe, one of the easiest ones when we talk about violence and types of it. Shouting, moving aggressively. What about psychological and emotional violence? How does that look like? And we have some examples more for physical one: grabbing, hitting, hurting the person. And about the psychological one? Yeah, and holding against your will as well is the physical one. Gaslighting, yep. Yeah, shaming. One of quite popular ones, like in general, not only among adolescents, is this silent treatment. That I'm giving you silent treatment because something has happened, or I feel in a certain way, and then I'm just simply not talking with you for a week, and so on, not explaining. And when I ask, hey, what's wrong? Nothing. The isolation as well, and it can be also together with physical violence, is that, you know, literally like locking someone up. What about sexual violence? How does that look like? Yeah, and refusing to solve conflicts would also go with a physical and emotional one. And very well goes together with blaming others for everything what's going wrong in our relationship. Something, sexual violence, something which is non-consensual, and consent is definitely a topic which you can talk about all the time, every time, in different kind of circumstances. What does that mean, and how does that look like, that I'm giving you consent, or you're hearing my consent and I'm hearing yours and I'm respecting it. And it's that we kind of spend a lot of time on talking about how to say no, you know, how to put your boundaries, how to communicate those boundaries. But I think we should spend more time, as we are spending now, also to having a conversation on how to accept the no, right? So when someone is telling me like, hey, I don't want this, or I don't want to continue, or I don't want it at all, so am I okay with it? Or I keep pushing, or I'm going very defensive, or you know, ending relationship. So that's again a piece of that. And when we talk about economic violence, how does that look like? Nelda is also mentioning about sexual one. Yeah, it's not only about sexual acts or coercion, but also exposing to unwanted sexual material like pictures and videos. And economic is not letting a person work. And this sometimes is misused among teenagers, just, you know, to give you a bit of, you know, tip maybe how to avoid it, is that they when we talk about these types of violence, they get the physical one, they get the sexual, they get the psychological one pretty easily. But when we go to economic one, the moment when parents are, you know, not giving enough pocket money or more pocket money as they're asking, they're like, this is economic violence. And then you say like, no, that's not really the case. I mean, you know, you need to see the whole context, but, you know, when, you know, parent doesn't want to buy you latest iPhone, it doesn't mean that it's economic violence. I mean, there can be other reasons why the answer is no to your request. But economic violence is also about about not only about money, but it's also about goods. And we can go to a bit of a detailed description about those ones. is the physical one is everything which obviously reflects on physical movement and physical interaction. It also includes using weapons and objects, and not only like hurting other person, but also like physical restraining, which was mentioned. That's really great that you were thinking about that one as well. And among teenagers, it can also reflect on reckless driving, is that I put another person's life in danger by proving, you know, what a good driver I am. And about the psychological and emotional one is, constantly criticizing, for instance, patronizing, insulting other person's appearance, and belittling, as you also mentioned that, controlling, and so on. Sarcasm is a big part of it, and also joking, which is very slippery slope, especially among teenagers, that they tend to joke about each other and say like, but you know, that's just how our friendship is. But you kind of hear that and you feel that, well, this is not really a healthy friendship for, you know, for you as a bystander. So maybe that's the moment to really have a conversation. Okay, well, does everyone feel that it's funny, or, you know, the joke is funny only for those ones who are saying it, not the ones who this joke has been said about. Sexual violence, as you named a lot of it in a way, is also, and I want to put like an emphasis on one of the main risks in adolescent life is porn, and especially revenge porn, which is a huge thing, and it's very hard to kind of address it because there are not enough knowledge and know-hows on the side of educators how to address this topic. And also that, you know, the whole media and TikTok and Snapchat and all of the other platforms can be used for like sharing and sending and creating sexual explicit images. And what is kind of terrifying is that it's not also well controlled in a way that who has an access to it. So also very small kids can get easily access to porn and sexual explicit images and such. And so that's, at least in Latvia, that's a kind of burning topic, and that's a pain in our hearts as well. And also that like a lot of young adolescents are watching porn, and the conversation about how does the porn industry as such reflects on how the intimate partner relationship should look like. There are a lot of myths, a lot of misconceptions. There is nothing about consent. There is nothing about contraception, and there is nothing about you know, how, you know, the pleasure can be in a way, and also how you know, creepy the first times can be, and, you know, uncomfortable and so on. So nothing is real basically there, but even like, especially in a country where sexual reproductive health and rights education is not present in school curricula, porn is the thing what young people watch and get, you know, information from. So I think that even if you're, you know, working on, I don't know, environmental issues or anything else, it will always be there because young people will be there, and they will be having these conversations among themselves. So it's like, I would really encourage each and every youth worker to, you know, start a conversation about this topic without, you know, okay, of course, feeling uncomfortable and maybe doesn't know how to, you know, begin with it, but just like asking questions is, you know, one of the safest ways to get them talking and kind of encourage the conversation. Okay, I expanded a bit too much on this part, but going back to the economic one is also so not only about the money, you know, not giving the access to money or forbidding to work, but it's also about like goods. And if this economic violence is also a way how kids and adolescents are lured, what's the word? Basically engaged into the human trafficking network, because if it's either they have being engaged into human trafficking as for the uses of pornography and or sexual exploitation, or also, for instance, for stealing for someone, or bringing drugs from one place to other. So if you work with young people, especially coming from socially challenging backgrounds, knowing their the family's overall economic situation, and suddenly the young people are coming with the newest phones, I don't know, some cool clothes, and like they're starting to bring in different goods, that might raise your eyebrows in a way, like, hey, oh, I see you have that and that, like, did you start to work? Or so, just to be very attentive. It might be a gift from someone, obviously, and nothing bad can happen in the background, but those kids who are not getting the access to the things what they should have, they are the most vulnerable for to become a human trafficking victims. And this is another huge topic we can share some knowledge on, but now we don't have time for that, unfortunately. Where can it happen? All these types of violence, where can it happen? What are your thoughts? At home? Where else? In schools, exactly. And that's kind of crazy, because home and school should be the place where the kids should feel the safer, right? But yes, we have a winner here, pretty much anywhere. And that's the answer for this one, unfortunately, is that it can happen everywhere and anywhere and anytime. So breaking the myth that violence happens only in families where parents are, drug users, or where, families are very, very poor, and so on. No, it can happen in families where the kid, is like on the top of its class, well-dressed, well-behaved, and so on. You never know what is going on in the background. So we will talk about some of the red flags which can help you to spot the victim and also spot the abuser. So, but about the roles very quickly, obviously there are 3 of them, and what the youth worker is experiencing maybe most of the time is becoming this bystander. And also about the abuser, especially about the bullying in schools. When we talk about it, it's that there are always bystanders for each of the roles, and there are the bystanders which are supporting abuser actively, which are giving some ideas how to bully that and that person, or they're laughing at its jokes, or they are making videos when the violence is happening, and sharing them on media and so on. And there are the ones who are supporting abuser passively, which are the ones who are maybe, just watching and doing nothing and just, seemingly enjoying what's going on. Way less people are the ones who are supporting victim passively. Those are the kids who are maybe, when the violent situation is happening, they're the ones who are, standing, not engaging actively in any of the roles, but like, with their body language and maybe with their conversations among each other, you feel that they are not okay what they are seeing, that they feel with their guts that there's something very, very wrong what's going on. And even less are the ones who are supporting victim actively. And this is the hard part also for the kids, because all of us don't want to be in the shoes of victim, right? So, and especially about the bullying is that these roles can switch so fast. In the moment I'm stepping up to someone who has been bullied, I can become the next victim. Or after summer break, all of these roles can be switched completely. The one who has been the victim the whole semester suddenly becomes an abuser. Wonder why, right? So this is the thing why also bullying prevention is something what needs to be done in very different levels of the school system. And it's not only about, providing workshops for young people when, Madara and or Árpád is coming to school and saying like, nah, you should have a healthy relationships. But I mean, that's, a thing that needs to be addressed between the teachers themselves, for instance, what's going on among the colleagues, and are we, really showing what we preach for, the healthy relationships? Is it there in all of the levels? When we talk about the violence in intimate relationships, is that we usually distinguish three phases. So one is the tension phase, when we feel that, okay, the other person is on the edge, and something is gonna happen definitely. And this phase, the one for the victim, can be really hard. Well, all of the phases are hard for victim, but I mean, in this one, you really are as it says here, walking on eggshells, basically following, your breathing, that if you're not breathing too loudly, and so that will trigger the explosion in other person. So the violent situation happens, and this is the actual violent episode. So it can include physical, emotional, sexual abuse. It can include all of them. It can include just one of them. But basically, the violence has happened. It can be, I don't know, a hit or gaslighting, or what else not. And then it tends to lead to honeymoon phase, which is the moment when abuser is saying that they're sorry, that they will not do that again, and they were, it was a tiring day, and they, something really triggered, it really sucked in school, so I kind of let it out on you. And, they kind of are practicing healthy relationship till one moment when it again slowly builds up towards this very tense phase, which then leads again to the violent situation. And not only about teenagers, but in everyone who is in the cycle of violence, and especially if the violence is like really heavy one. What do you think is the moment when you, as bystanders, could step in? When the victim is in which of the phases? Would be the one when could you step in and kind of say like, hey, it's not okay, what's going on? I see that, I hear that, and how do you feel about? So basically start a conversation. In which phase that would work maybe the best? Or in between, which ones maybe? Okay, I'm going to help you out from the other perspective, which would, we have two chat answers, the violent phase between honeymoon and tension. Yes, well, the honeymoon phase is tricky because we really believe that, they will change. And we kind of hope that it will be different. And that can be like the honeymoon phase as such can be definitely the point when the victim could ignore you trying to, reach out to them. Yeah, love is also definitely not a honeymoon. The violent phase, yes, that's the one, because especially if you're a bystander, like you can physically see and hear what's going on. You have data, you have facts. You heard something, you saw something, you saw the reactions of each of the parties, and you are concrete data to build up your case. That's saying like, look, happened that and that, I saw that and that. How does that feel for you? But if you are in this honeymoon phase or in this tension phase, still the tension phase is the moment when both of the people might feel like it will not go to the violent phase. Especially the victim can tend to think that, but they promised, that this will not repeat. So I'm believing them. But the violent phase is something what you can really work through. So by recognizing the victim, can give you the red flags, is that when the young person comes, let's say what example I could give? So basically, imagine if you are in you're working in a youth center, right? So you have daily activities there, you have different things young people can do, and the young person comes in, and you feel that, or you see that they are kind of whatever they're saying, they're looking to the other person and kind of getting the confirmation, or just checking in with the other person if the abuser is also there, that that you feel that they are not really freely just, you know, being who they are. They are starting to avoid certain topics of conversations. Like if you ask them, hey, how was your weekend? They're like, it was okay, and that's it. Obviously, you know, they might not want to share in general, but if the person, especially if you know the kid and they have been sharing a lot of things with you and suddenly they stop, well, something must have happened. And they are, you know, kind of sometimes I hear kids saying like, yeah, you know, I'm really bad at this and that. It's like, how do you know? My boyfriend says that, or my girlfriend says that, you know, maybe it's true. Maybe they really, you know, suck in, I don't know, in ice hockey, you know, but maybe they are not really in a healthy relationship. And what's also a thing is that victims very, very often, or almost all the time, tend to think that they are the ones who are making mistakes and they're kind of deserving to be hurt, because, you know, why should anyone hurt a person who is doing everything right? So it means that I'm doing something wrong all the time. So I deserve to be, you know, punished or neglected or humiliated because I'm the one who is crazy. And also pay attention to the body language. If suddenly it's a hot summer day and the kid comes in a very long sweater and very long jeans, it, you know, might be a sign. Just, you know, pay attention. Or if someone shuts the door and the kid jumps up, you know, from the chair, like constantly, or they are checking the phone all the time and they're freaking out the moment where like, oh my God, I missed a phone call from my boyfriend, you know, or from a girlfriend. And it can be, you know, an event once, because I don't know, the call was super important. But if you feel that's happening repeatedly, that can definitely be a red flag. And also how to recognize the abuser is that watch their relationship, especially if those two kids are coming to your youth camp, or you are meeting up with them in your town, or, you know, they're attending the same school, how they are interacting with each other, and are there any, you know, jokes which are funny just for one part of this one person, and that they are ignoring opinions or accomplishments that can be specifically hurtful. If, you know, I have achieved something and my significant other is saying like, that's not a big deal, you know, you didn't work that hard, so you were just lucky to get that, you know, grade or to succeed in a sports game whatsoever. Blame is there again, and objectifying other person, and jealousy, obviously, as we talk through all of these signs of unhealthy relationships. Control and limiting also access, not only to money, phone, car, anything else, but also limiting the access to hobbies, to meeting with other people, and so on. So I'm really going fast through this because I see that, you know, the time is ticking. So what we can do, what we can say, if the kid comes to you and says that, you know, after the workshop of 10 healthy and unhealthy signs, they suddenly realize that, well, this is not okay, and they're not crazy, they don't deserve to be hurt, it's just like the relationship is really, really bad. So what can you say? These are the very simple things. And so first of all, thanking them that they are trusting you, that they're revealing this. That's very brave. That's a first step to change something, and that it's definitely not their fault, and that they deserve to be safe. They deserve to be loved and understood and supported. And also is that the question of what do you need, or how can I help you, is maybe you can put it better in a way that, is there anything I can do for you? Because if you know, sometimes when we are asking someone that, you know, how can I help, is like, it's already kind of a imagining that they will definitely accept our help, or that they will definitely need our help. But it can be a situation that they just wanted to, you know, get it out of their system, and that they just want someone to know what's going on with them, but they don't know what they need, or they don't know where they want to move on. And maybe they're even not ready to end this relationship. So understanding that a relationship is not healthy doesn't necessarily mean that the next step will be, you know, cutting the relationship. It can be that they can still, you know, believe the person is really changing, and maybe it really does, because maybe the other person suddenly acknowledges that, you know, the behavior has been really hurtful to the other, and they start to work it out. So yeah, just being there for them is the hardest and the easiest thing at the same time. Sometimes I think that, yeah. And the other thing is that if you are seeing, or, you know, feeling that something is not right, or you have seen some actual case of a violence, is that, first of all, there are like basically five things what you can do is to first of all, to let the person know that you care about them, and that you want to have a conversation about something what you saw yesterday during our, you know, weekly meeting with the youth council. So what you saw, so report on the actual facts. What did you see? So you noticed that, you know, that the person grabbed your hand, or that they were talking over you all the time, or they were interrupting you, or I noticed that you had really great ideas, but your friend, let's say, were, you know, cutting it off all the time. So how do you feel about that? Because I feel that you had really great ideas and they should be heard. And also, yeah, when you talk with a person, use your own or stick to the I statements, because this can be also just, you know, maybe your misinterpretation of certain things, but you are true with your feelings. So when you notice that and that, you felt that and that, and that's okay. It might not be true, you know, what you interpreted there, but still your feelings are relevant. And tell the person that, you know, you would like to see that they are, you know, in a relationship which are supportive and healthy and encouraging and so on, and that you are there, and if they ever want to talk about it, that you are ready to listen, and if they want, you can be the one who can, you know, help them to develop a plan, what's next, you know, to make the next steps. And also, if you promise something, then stick to your promise. And I believe you know all of that as well, working with the kids and with teenagers. And yeah. Oh, this is the long one, and sometimes the hardest part. And the hardest part about talking with abuser, I don't think that it's really that hard if we talk about the teenagers, because you still are, you know, in a position of power in a way, because you're an adult and you're a trainer or you're a teacher, so you know a bit more about life than them. I mean, you might not know more about their life, but a life in general, because you just, you know, spend more time on this earth. But anyways, it's important to have a conversation, and even more with anyone who you have noticed is an abuser. And then again, you know, sticking to the clear facts, sticking to the I statements is one of the best ways. And definitely, you know, going back to your maybe group agreement or some other, you know, rules you have agreed on, is that, hey, in this group or in this camp, we do not tolerate that and that behavior. That's it. It needs to change, or it needs to stop. We want you to be here, but you cannot be here if you're not changing your behavior. Simple as that, in a way. You know, you're kind of really being kind of a strict, and obviously then again, showing that, especially when we talk about the kids, is that showing them that you will not neglect them because they don't know how to behave, but you can be there to support them to change their behavior if they want to change it. But if not, then, you know, we need to search for other solutions or other ways how we can move on from the situation. But you're definitely the one who is setting the boundaries and sticking to them. Yeah, so basically, to wrap it up, is that you're not alone in this. You always have someone who knows someone, or who knows something, who knows more about the topic. Or so think of now, after this activity, I don't know, tomorrow or next week or wherever you feel, just remember these questions. Is that if violence happens in your youth group or in your youth work, so who is your support people? Who can you invite into this challenge of, building healthy relationships among teenagers? So what are the resources? What are the services provided also for young people who have been victims or who are abusers? So, and what are the legal procedures of that? So be aware about those ones as well. So not only about partner violence and gender-based violence and in real life, but also what are the consequences of becoming a victim or perpetrating cyber violence. So how can we sort these situations out? Yeah, and search for organizations, search for people who know the topics, who can share some tips and tricks with you, who can, be there with you, because this, this is not always easy, but it's always doable, I believe. So that's it. I believe this can be the moment of questions or comments. I can also, I'm okay with sharing, like we are okay with sharing the presentation, if that would work for viewers or the ones who have been part of this. Yeah.
But at the end, if there are not any questions, but we'll have time for questions if you have them later. We want to, yeah. There's, Árpád, you have a question?
Yeah. If no one else, I feel a bit guilty, but anyway, I have a question.
No.
So it's my question. I see that you work on prevention, creating this first layer of working with communities and having a safer network within the group of youngsters. So it's very much first step of prevention and not crisis intervention kind of work that you do. And also you mentioned these last part, okay, if anything goes on, how can I recognize it and what can I do when it's very urgent? And if there's anything specific in between that you find useful to help youth maybe change their behavior. And especially I'm interested in youth who have seen bad examples and also have lived through maybe adverse childhood experiences and are worse in regulating their emotions than usual. So they have a narrow window of tolerance and they don't know what they can do about these intense emotions. If there's any experience or idea that you would like to share about this. Emotional regulation and expression and learning better ways for this. If it occurs in your practice.
I'm just looking at Ako and
Yeah. One of the topics in methodology is emotions and how to understand them, and actually working with teenagers. That's one of the first things we start, because without the reflection of yourself, we cannot talk about your relationships and how do you feel in them. So that's a big part of violence prevention. Yeah.
From my side, I think firstly about relationships is that you are an example, because they're looking at you, they're looking up to you, and the ways how you engage with your colleagues, maybe with your partner in some of the moments, so that they see it, that they see alternatives of what they have experienced, and that the more they will see those alternatives, the more they believe that, that's that's the new normal, right? Apart from what they have experienced, and by just being kind to people. And so I think that's the thing what we all can do, how we can portray our relationships in front of young people. About emotions, that's hard part. And I immediately think about my 2-year-old son, who is also, not really managing his emotions, and what kind of helps, and obviously with the teenagers way more complicated. But I think one of the first steps what we can do without knowledge in psychology, or having this extensive knowledge in this particular field, is that to say like, hey, I see you, I see that that you are experiencing that and that. Do you feel angry? I see, yes, it's this situation was frustrating. And so kind of a kind of naming what's going on, and then see how you can move on with it. Because most of the times kids and teenagers, what they have got as a response if they are showing these excessive emotions is, stop. Or behave in that and that way, or just stop and go away and come back when you're calm. How exactly I can be calm? I don't know how to get calm.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
never taught me. No one ever taught me that. So I think that's why it's also important in this field to work in pairs, or have. But I mean, you have the support system, that you have someone who can stay with the group while you're going together with a kid, and find ways how to calm down.
It's good. Thank you for this tip. Like taking a break and having partners. It's also, and one question also comes up. You mentioned that it's way more common to have violence coming from men, and male violence, and also it's more acceptable in quite some subcultures, macrocultures, groups. How do you rebrand emotions for boys? Because it can be that, okay, I see your point. Yeah, you want to talk about emotion. So it's not like when you ask how I feel, but if you bring up in a workshop, now let's talk about emotions, and there are boys, and it's like, oh, it's a girlish thing. So if there's anything that comes to your mind regarding this.
I could say the same thing that Madara just told, that I think that me and you as male youth leaders are big experience for the boys. For example, I worked in SOS Children Villages, where I worked with a lot of underprivileged boys who thought that no, guys don't talk about emotions, and they only fight. And they were talking about fighting a lot, and I told them that I had never I have never been in a fight in my life, and they were really shocked. And we were talking, and I told them how I resolve conflicts, and then together with them we were talking about it, and I said, like, I feel like that, I expressed my feelings, and they started to do the same thing. So I think the biggest part is to do these things for yourself in front of the teenagers as well. And I think it's really important that both youth leaders are both male and female gender, because I don't know how it's in Hungary, but in Latvia most of youth workers are female. And I would say that's a problem.
Yeah, to adding to what Ako said, not being able to show a male example, I would say that my trick is to talk about relationships, because this is something that is very actual to them, which is very topical. Always someone, likes someone or feels certain things to some certain people, and then like through different, role plays or different stories, it's like, oh, and what do you think? How did the person feel? And the moment when you bring in someone else we are talking about, it's easier to start conversation about emotions, because we're kind of distancing. This is not about me. This is about Mary, who slept with some guy and then, disaster. So, bad things happen and so on. So, and then we talk about that person's emotions, what she might be or they might be feeling or experiencing. And then we can, switch the conversation to, but if you would be in a similar situation, how would that be, feel for you? And then, suddenly we're talking about emotions. And also another thing is to, maybe that can follow those workshops, is to really give words, because mostly we are using like, how do you feel? Okay, or that really or that was awesome, and that's it. We have 3-4 words, but emotions are a huge spectrum. It's a huge vocabulary, and we can do that.
Wow, thank you for this.
One thing that I have done with some of the boys who really didn't like to talk about the emotions, they loved this animated TV series called Rick and Morty. Do you know it? It's kind of funny, and it's really rude and something like South Park or Simpsons. And we watched it together, and I asked him what kind of emotions does he see in that animation, and putting the conversation about something else. Really
distancing.
Distancing it. Yeah, I had something else, but I don't remember. But okay.
Well, thank you for these tips. I feel torn. Like I would have a lot of questions, I believe, and also other people as well. And our time is up that we dedicated for this workshop. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your experience and also these tips and tricks. And it was so clear from your presentation and your being here that it's just opening a door, and we can make steps in this direction. It's a lifelong learning for us. If people are interested in this, they can find your website, and you have more resources, I believe. So they have to search Marta Centers. Marta, maybe you pronounce it better or type it better.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We are going also to share the presentation, and there are our contacts as well.
Oh, great. So thank you again. And if you're interested in similar stuff in the project of Youth Plus and Future is Youth, we will have more webinars in the future. You see, like, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
We have to play.
Take care.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for you sharing.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for being here. This webinar was co-funded by the European Union. If you're interested in similar content, follow our channels or have a look at the webpage of our international partnership, The Future is Youth. If you find our work useful and inspiring, you can support us by feedback or donations. As an NGO, we are grateful for any type of support.